Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis. There's hair on my microphone.
That is not good.
Creepy.
Turn that hair up.
Turn down for hair.
Jesus Christ.
I'm pretty sure he had nothing to do with what I just said.
I mean, it might be his hair. I don't know.
Oh my God.
It was
Jesus'
pretty long.
hair.
Hair of Christ.
The hair of Christ.
All right.
Collect it, ship it off,
We can sell this to some
authenticate
rubes.
it.
Brady, what have you been
Does it,
doing?
does
I'm
it
gonna
smell
start with
like
you.
Mary Magdalene?
I don't know what Mary Magdalene smells like.
Which Mary are we
Mary
talking
on a cross.
I didn't get to that excise chapter of the Bible.
That's only in The Last Temptation of Christ with Willem Dafoe.
So I finally was able to watch a horror movie that I'd heard a lot about. I got it on sale. I think it was for...
Brady, we already watched Night of the Creeps. You didn't have to watch it again.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was so good the first time.
Again, I would hate to watch that movie alone.
Oh, yeah. Watching that movie alone
That's a
is-
friend
I
movie
would-
right there.
I would claw my eyes out. I got it on sale on Amazon when I ordered an RPG book for Dragonbane, which I'll be talking about in a later. It'll be the week after next, not next week, because Holder also won't be here next week. So
There you go.
but I watched Talk to Me. It is a
yeah.
horror movie that has gotten a lot of buzz, and it is really good. It is about these teenagers who somehow some of them get a hold of this
Decrepit
embalmed hand that you can touch and say, talk to me, and then a dead spirit comes, and then you say, I let you in, and then it comes into your body.
Oh.
And then you start acting weird. But there are rules. You can't go longer than 90 seconds or else they want to stay.
Oh.
And of course, with something like this, rules don't get followed, and shit goes sideways, and shit gets really, really brutal.
Well, they tell us teenagers are involved, so
Yeah.
obviously they don't follow the rules.
Yeah. Well, no teenagers in horror movies follow the rules.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have a movie.
Yeah.
Watch the documentary Scream. But yeah, so yeah, it's a really good movie. It is. It's very creepy. I think it just with our subject, it might be a good one to. There is some like blood and violence that might turn some people off, but like overall, I think it's a pretty solid. There's not really like it doesn't do like the jump scare thing too much, and the way they do what could be considered jump scares are like not just a loud noise, like it makes sense. But yeah, it's a really good movie. I would say check it out. It's a cool like 90 minutes. They get in and they get out, and it's pretty good. I would say its reputation is well deserved.
Available on Hulu with the premium subscription.
I don't think it's for free anywhere. It might eventually be coming out on Max because it is an A24 film. It's not one that I think it's one that they picked up because it's Australian. It's not one that they necessarily.
It's on Paramount, but with a premium subscription again.
Yeah.
And Fubo.
Sure. So yeah, it's a good movie. Check it out. Definitely. It is one of the better of the year that I've seen. It's not the best. We'll probably talk about that towards the end of the year, but it is pretty solid. I've been continuing with Magic.
Yes. Yes.
I have the better part of another deck put together, and I have proxies for the stuff that's coming in, so I can actually
It's
play
in your
it.
hand right now.
Yeah, I had to look through because I was missing a proxy for something, and I just needed an extra arcane signet. I don't have that in this deck.
While you're getting your cards and your decks together, you're having a good time with all this, correct? I would assume you would be if you're not.
Sure, let's say I'm having a good time. Yeah, it's I don't know.
I mean,
it's-
you won
I'm
that one
here.
game with you, me, Bianca, and Cameron.
Yeah, I kind of won that by one because Bianca got super mad at you and killed you.
That happens
Which
a
was
lot.
good because that was a really fucking annoying deck that I didn't
Yeah,
want to continue to
so-
have to play against.
So I was playing a deck that basically said, "Hey, pay 8 mana, and you can cast a spell from the top 4 cards of your library for free."
Mm-hmm.
And
Smella.
I had things that say like,
Yeah.
"Hey, when you activate an ability, you copy that ability. Whenever you
Do it again.
When you cast something, you get this effect."
Mm-hmm.
And so I was a real bastard.
Yeah, he basically played all the cards that say, I get to play Magic like you're supposed to play Magic.
get to
but-
watch me
but
play
nobody
Magic.
else gets to
Yeah.
play
You
Magic.
can watch me play
I was
Magic.
playing solitaire basically.
And
Yeah,
then
that's all of your decks.
and then Bianca killed him, and then we didn't have to worry about that. And then
Everyone cheered when
and
I
then the
died.
way I swung, the math was too much. So Cameron was just like, I can't do this math. I concede. I killed
Yeah.
Bianca, but then Cameron was like, I don't want to do all this math.
Yeah.
I concede.
Mathis were blockers, and he didn't
Yeah.
feel like doing it.
Because it's like, yeah, I have these guys that are 5/5 with trample, double strike, and they do,
Triple
and
damage.
when they hit for triple damage.
Right.
So he was like,
That's a lot
I
of
can't-
math.
I can't do all that.
That's a lot of math.
take 30 on one dude.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, for sure.
But so yeah, I'm having fuck, I'm not saying it. I'm continuing with Magic. I have a
Regretfully
Osiris deck.
moving on.
You're going to start having a dissociative disorder
It's
at this point.
quite possibly.
You're also gonna start texting without a cell phone in your
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah. Man.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're becoming Ethan.
Jesus,
That's the last thing anyone wants to do.
especially me.
I like how your fiance, soon to be wife, agrees
Yeah.
with what you just said.
Like wholeheartedly, like nodding up and down.
Like, could
breaking her
not
neck.
any more.
Yeah. So yeah, I got a Osiris deck. He just wants to make people draw cards and
You make a lot of snakes.
and make snake tokens.
I enjoy Zyrus.
Yeah, it seems like a fun deck. This list that I found. I've got a Niv Mizzet Perun deck that most of it's coming.
Curiosity.
Yeah, that's it's like it's a budget, but it's like still a higher level.
Yeah.
So
I told
wanted
I told
something
him
that
he
was a
should
little-
put Basilisk Collar in there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and you just do.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you'll draw cards off of that too if Curiosity is attached to him because
You
it's
draw your entire deck.
whenever he deals damage.
Well, if Curiosity is on Niv and
You deal it deals 1 damage.
you're basically going.
Yeah.
You're if you can do if the damage out of everybody is less than or equal to the number of cards you have left in your deck, you kind of win.
Yeah. Do you run Thassa's Oracle?
That one doesn't have that. I don't think.
Laboratory Maniac?
I have heard
Black Lotus?
I've seen them talk. I've seen some people talk about that one. It's not in this particular list, but I do have like a couple of other like not super expensive lists that I'm gonna look through.
Yeah, Laboratory Maniac is a like a 10-cent
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
It's like when you draw, you just win
Yeah.
if you don't have any cards left.
I will say I do like the fact that like there's like alternate win conditions instead of like, hey, beat all of your opponents to 0 life and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, the only issue with those decks is that there's only like so many of them, and they all do pretty much the same thing. Because I'd love to see like off mic what the win condition is, except for like not Thassa's Oracle
Oh,
and
yeah,
Laboratory Maniac. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm continuing with that. I also finished The Infinite End of the Vine, the 40K book that follows two old bastards who are constantly fucking with each other.
We're talking millennia old bastards here
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, this the scope of the book, because they're Necrons and Necrons are functionally immortal. Like things happen in like are measured in like millennia that they happen. Like there's one where like they're talking and one of them says something that the other one likes and they just look at each other for like 2 hours because like that would be like a small pause.
Yeah.
There's a thing where they're getting a tribunal together and it happens in like 12. It takes them like 20 years to like figure out who they're going to wake up to be over this tribunal, and they're like, this is basically for Necrons, this is frontier justice that happened this fast. It's very funny. Some of my favorite out of context quotes are, you moron, you got us box seats to a coup. That's a really good one. What's the other one? Shit. I hope you brought an army. My dear colleague, you think so little of me. I brought 5 armies. It's so good. It's so good. The banter between the two is really funny. Both of the characters are pretty interesting. I will say you probably need to know at least a little bit about 40K. I don't think you need to be like super into 40K but like getting into it could be, and not knowing anything about 40K, it could be like a little confusing. But I don't think there's a whole lot. You need to know just a little bit about like the background, like the couple of like a paragraph or two about the Necrons and how they function and everything like that. Because they basically used to be humanoid, and then they got tricked into becoming these basically robot-looking things, and lost their souls, and they're kind of pissy about that. And then they all went to sleep.
For about an eon.
Yeah, they decide like 65 million years later we're gonna wake up. So yeah, but a lot of the things there talk about like their processor is overheating, and it's just like, oh, your brain is like getting fried or something like that. But just knowing about a little bit about who they used to be, and like they actually like fought their gods and defeated them and broke them into shards and used them to power their shit.
I love where Necrons have gone from where they started, because you now actually have characters and personalities and a reason behind why they did what they did. And I think that's more fascinating than just, oh yeah, we just want to make a race of Terminators.
Yeah. And a lot of them, just by function of how they work, a lot of them are kind of mindless drones. But then the ones that have character are really interesting. Like even how do you pronounce his name? Cesareth, the Silent King.
Yeah.
He's cool, and he never even talks. Like he's actually like a pretty sweet.
He has one of the best models in 40K.
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
Period.
It's a great model. Trazen, he's phenomenal. One of the main characters of this book. He's a hoarder basically. Like he just collects shit.
One of my favorite alt sculpts for the is Hasmatheth. You had to get, if he was a special order Necron, I've got him, and I like the Egyptian take on it, but then also the skeletal take on it, and also the Terminator take on it. Everything about it just the aesthetic has really come a long way since the first days of Necrons. I think they've had a lot more character, even to the stuff that is mindless and soulless. There's stuff you can do with it, and I really appreciate that.
Could you say that about a lot of the Warhammer stuff, though?
I think some stuff have increased over the years. Some to me have decreased.
Really?
Like the idea, if you'd have told me when I was first getting into 40Ks, you would have a Space Marine squad that is all plasma guns, I'd be like, yes, I'm all for this. And then you get it, and it's Space Marines with plasma guns, and it's your regular cast Space Marines. They are the Primaris ones, but the image floods, which from a modeling and from a hobby and from a painting standpoint, that's great. It's the reason why they make a great first army, because you don't have to do different techniques.
Very
on different
uniform.
models.
Well, that's a symptom of the fact that the game has been around for so long, and we have to have new Space Marines every single time a new edition comes out. So there's like hundreds and hundreds of SKUs for Space Marines. So you kind of
right now
you can only do so much with them. Like here's another weapon or something.
You
like
have
that.
Firstborn Space Marines, which are all the Space Marine models, I think, prior to 2009, not 2010.
Possibly.
And then you have the newer models, which are Primaris Space Marines, which is they're bigger. They're to me they're a lot leaner.
Proportions are like old Space Marines can be kind of stubby. Some of them.
They literally trim the fat on a lot of them and just kind of just make them like. And I like the newer models for the most part. But where I kind of have a bit of an issue with it is that it's still Space Marines, so it's still kind of the same basic template.
Right.
Like for for standing out in an like orcs to me is like I think we mentioned this was either last night or tonight, I can remember. I love orcs because orcs have a similar build, but they each carry this own personality, and you can there are ways to make them kind of look more personable. And
Yeah,
I
there's
always
so much
love that.
personality in an orc model that isn't there, and it's just because it's just a symptom of these are the poster boys, and so we can't get super complicated with it. We want people to be able to paint these easily when they get them, and we have to have new ones every single time. So we're just like little iterations here and there. Space Marines are the most boring, but like
That was also becoming a problem in Age of Sigmar because Stormcast Eternals were like that.
Yeah.
Except I think they've done a way better job of. It's almost a refresh. It's almost a complete refresh, particularly with the Judicators with their wings, and they've gone from that Art Deco style. And Tornus finally has his model, Tornus the Redeemed. I can't wait to paint that model.
Yeah.
I love that character so much. He had fallen to Nurgle and fallen to Carrie, and came Torgalug, and every so often, like, there will be a soul that can rise above like the corruption of chaos, and in order to breach that out of them, they face off against the I can't think of the name, the Celestin Prime, who carries Galmaraz, the Hammer of Sigmar, and when he strikes them, he can send their soul to be reforged, and he's been redeemed from being a servant of Nurgle, which I think is just a fucking amazing thing.
That's cool.
So yeah, but I think they've done a way better job in Age of Sigmar of making those models fresher over the years than they have with Space Marines.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
What else you been up to, Brady?
That's pretty much it. I think there's something else I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember, so fuck it.
All right. Jay, what about you?
Well, it's they fall into letters T and T this week. The first one is Tekken 8. I've been really enjoying Tekken 8. They did a fantastic job with this. Like, where I loved 7, and it was the first game in the series that I really enjoyed. They've moved forward. I think they've done the right things with everything, with one exception, which they're kind of fixing. So the season pass has been going on. We got Layla Sobieski in the first character, and then we got Heihachi just recently, and Heihachi plays pretty cool. He is probably going to join Jin and Azucena as probably like my 3 that I would play if I was playing kind of like tournament styles thing. But they also added a stage, and the stage is $5. It's $5 for the stage.
Oh,
Pay to win stage.
Immediately upon doing this, the Steam board was completely bombed. Like, that map in of itself has like a mostly negative. I think it's like a 2% positive votes on it.
Right.
And the whole game went from overwhelmingly positive to mostly negative off of this practice, because this has always been parts of their passes, have always been parts of their and it just wasn't
right.
And so what the fuck? And so to me, that's one of the times where I think like Steam bombing, I think has actually been for the good, because it's like we have seen your thing. We appreciate that. We're going to refund people who have bought this thing, and in the future we're going to price things out accordingly. Now, what their actions are after this, we will see. But I'm really appreciative that they at least acknowledged it publicly that they fucked up.
You don't want a Dead or Alive 6 situation.
Well, you still kind of have that with that. Like you can get a lot of the there's a lot of character customization stuff that you can get just from playing the game.
Sure.
But there's also stuff that's like, would you like the bikini pack? Give us $5.
Would you like the uniform pack for 3 characters?
Would you like the uniform pack that puts all of the guys in Heihachi's diaper costume? You can do that for $5,
right?
Or I think it's like 400 Tekken bucks or whatever.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, okay. So
I think the last time I checked on the price of everything that you could buy in Dead or Alive 6 was $56,000.
Yeah, it's an insane number. So
I'm sorry, huh?
No, there's some shoes. They're Jin's. They're a set of shoes that Nike partnered with Bandai Namco, and you can get them in game for free.
Yeah,
and you can put them Jin in them, and they're great. And I love the look of them, and I want these shoes, and they're like $600 fucking dollars.
Right?
No, I don't care if it's foam posit or whatever the fuck you're gonna call the shit that's made out of.
There was an accessory pack for glasses for some of the characters in Dead or Alive 6 that was $4.99 for just glasses.
Hold on, there's something. They weren't just glasses.
Yeah,
they were sexy glasses.
They were sexy glasses. $5.
There's two. There's a bikini outfit, and there's also like a coconut bikini outfit, and those are all like 400 Tekken bucks themselves.
And you could almost buy a whole planet in Star Citizen for that much money. Almost.
Oh no, 400 Tekken bucks, which
No,
is like
no. I was talking about Dead or Alive 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could have your own aircraft carrier.
Yeah, right.
You won't have anybody to pilot it because it's an actual aircraft carrier and it has like 200 fucking stations.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Beta forever.
One day I want us to talk about Star Citizen. I kind of want to get like I want to try the one where you can fly around in space because that's what I'd want to do in that. And but yeah,
we have technically talked about Star Citizen several times,
Yes.
but not actually talk about Star Citizen.
I want us to like
We're
get.
talking about the monetary stuff.
I want to put Star Citizen on my computer, and I want people to play it,
Oh my god!
and then we can talk about it, and we can just rail.
Which mode?
The one where you're flying in space. The only thing
okay.
I'd want to do.
Okay.
And then the second tea of this week is 10 candles. We ran 10 candles tonight. It was a fun experience. It's one of my favorite things to do in the Halloween times. It's spooky games and it's storytelling all in once, and it's very enjoyable. Time limited game. How long is the time limit? How long does it take 10 tea light candles to melt? There you go. That's how long you got. I hope you were ready.
Somewhere between an hour to 2 hours.
Very fun. We enjoyed it this year. The enemy ended up being bodiless legs. And yeah,
I see the confusion in Brady's face.
Just
Who was to your right?
oh, that was one Michael Hill. Hold on. So he gave me. So he gave me. I have seen them crush people underfoot like giant ants.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, all right. So I first thought about maybe giant ants, but that was a little too on the fucking nose.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else can I do there? And then I remembered the myth of the Hecton shares. So the Hecton shares are 50-headed, 100-armed creatures from primordial Greece. They were the children of Cronus. I actually had to look of Cronus, and I forgot the other titan. And
Either
it's been a while.
Gaia?
I think it was. Yeah, no, it was Gaia because they
most of Kronos, most of his. Well, no, it was Saturn and Gaia.
Isn't Saturn and Cronus the same person?
No, Saturn is Kronos' father.
Oh, okay. So,
But that's where like most of like the monsters in Greece come from.
So in
is
this one,
those
it's
two.
just like,
But-
I just had them to be these giant fucking legs
Mm-hmm.
that were just like they would just go around crushing things. At one
Nice.
point, like a gaggle of them start hooking up, and so it's like I remembered the picture of the Hecton shares. So I just had like the legs start hooking up at the hip joints, but like there was 5 legs all at once, and I started calling them large ballerinas, or I forgot the adjective I gave to them, but they were basically like dancing around, like picture a ballerina.
5-legged ballerinas.
Yeah, 5-legged ballerina.
Yeah.
So they were like jumping up around and doing pirouettes, but it was 5 legs
Oh, God.
doing it. So yeah, I just
That sounds pretty frightening.
yeah.
These fearsome creatures were the offspring of primordial deities Uranus and Gaia,
Uranus.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
I'm
you
sorry. Yeah.
and brothers of the Cyclops.
There you go.
It was even further back because Uranus is Saturn's father, and Saturn is Kronos' father. And they all killed each other. That's why he ate Zeus and all of.
Yeah.
That's why Kronos
Gotta
ate Zeus. and
gotta
all
love
them.
mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
And then Gaia is always there.
this year we had a newbie, Caitlin Hill, which is Michael's wife. She had a good time of it. She was raving about it. They want to get some friends together and they want to do it again next week. So hopefully we'll be doing it again next week.
I want to say this was Bianca's second year playing it.
Second time.
Nice.
Yeah, Ethan, this your third game of it or
This
second?
is
game?
my fourth game.
Fourth game of it? Jesus,
Yeah.
man. Well, thank you for
game.
coming back year on end. That's right. The first year you ran twice.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
No,
Right? You've run twice in one night, right?
not twice in one night. Because the first time we did
How the fuck long have I known you? Holy shit. This
a
feels
long
like.
fucking time.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Because the first time,
Only son of the father. Anyway.
first time was Dead Radio
The original Dead
second
Radio.
time it was
The moon. It was the moon
station.
base.
Moon base.
And then the third time, I think you ended up back on the moon but
I only
was
did that once.
Was that once?
And then last year we did Terror on the cruise ship.
Oh yeah, Terror on the cruise ship, and then we went back to Dead Radio this year. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
I've done it 4 times and I've enjoyed every single interaction with it.
Thank God. All right.
I did. I think it was last year or a year before. I did it twice
Yeah.
because
See, I remember you playing with what's his name? God, I can't remember his name. Shoot. But yeah, I remember because Dead Radio comes up a lot because it's a very easy kind of easy setup. One time, one time our Dead Radio ended up going to Walt Disney World and then the moon.
Cameron was talking about that earlier. That was the one of the games I played last time.
Yeah.
Was when he took the Nintendo controller and piloted
the
a
GameCube
space shuttle.
controller went-
too.
No, there was another one.
Have you played 5 times?
There's another one. There's
Jesus
the
Christ.
the train that went through time and space.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that shit
I
went
forgot
crazy.
about that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Oh my God. Fantastic.
Because I remember the Nintendo controller. There we go. Yeah.
That
you're
was the
wondering-
same night. That was you played 2 games with me.
Yeah, you did. There was a 2-game night.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering how one game can create all of this, check out 10 Candles from Cavalry Games. I believe Stephen Dewey is the creator and also the owner of Cavalry Games. Give him some dollars and get some games from him. He does it on PDF and also have I don't know if it's still print on demand. When I got my copy, it was print on demand.
Right.
But definitely get the PDF of it. This one's well worth it. I'm very interested in another one he did called Gather Children of the Evertree, which the idea behind that is kind of, I want to dig more into it before I get more into talking about that, because that one also required a deck of cards, which is kind of weird. But no, I highly recommend 10 Candles, and we're going to do it again next week, hopefully with even more new people. It's going to be fantastic.
Is that you?
That's me, man.
All right, Ethan.
10 Candles. No. I enjoyed 10 Candles every single time Jay runs.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
one
it's
of
a
your.
fun game.
That's one of the. That was one of your best characters. Like
I very much
role-playing-
like
not
this
just
character.
10 Candles, but also just in role playing that I've seen you do. I thought that was very good.
I was given, so you're given a virtue and a vice that you do not create,
Right.
and I was given optimistic but impatient.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind was like, I'm a little kid.
right.
I'm a little kid bound with energy that only sees the good in things.
right.
And so I played this little 8-year-old kid that really just wants to like stick to one person and is like very gung ho about like, I want to go, let me go. And so I very much enjoyed this character that I made.
Nice.
Sadly, he died.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
It happens.
That's kind of the thing there.
Yeah. I watched me and Bianca, we watched The Edge of Sleep, the first 3 episodes.
Nice.
okay.
The characters that they chose match perfectly to how I imagined them when I first listened to it. So that much I very much appreciate. I very like.
Are any of the voice actors returned as their characters?
I don't believe so, no, because the only I'd have to like look deeper into it. I'll do that at a later time. But the only one, to my knowledge, that did both the podcast and the show is Mark. That being said, the acting is a little stale. It is. There are times where you can tell that this is like forced acting. Some of the actors are not on like the same wavelength, and it doesn't like mesh correctly, which kind of takes me out of that immersion. There's some things that they've opted to leave out because of like the nature of what happened in the podcast and not wanting to show it on the show, which I can understand. I'm enjoying it. Bianca doesn't like it. But I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm only halfway through it. I will give a entire detailed review after it. Still playing more Legend of Zelda. I haven't reached the central rift in the Highland Mountains, so still trekking up there. Weather has returned, so I'm having to also face cold, harsh blizzards. But luckily, they gave me a torch that I could just conjure up and just carry with me. However, every time it breaks, I have to reconjure it and attach to it and move it all over the place. So that, and juggling monsters attacking me in the snow. So still doing that, still having fun with it. And at the time of this podcast being released, there's 18 days left until I get married. And so
You're getting married?
yes, I am.
When were you going to tell us about this? Damn it!
What the fuck, man?
Possibly after the wedding, but I haven't really decided that yet.
Oh.
That's
Okay.
when we find out that
Well,
we
good.
didn't
That
get
saves me a
invited.
present that I have to give.
I'm not getting him a present. I'm just going to show up for the free food.
Yeah. There is gonna be food. Yeah, I'll say that. Damn. Okay.
I wish we had video just so you could see the facials on that Brady just did. They were classic, very good.
But wedding preparations, they're being finalized. We're getting everything set.
Are you gonna have little Hawaiian pretzel bites there? Because if you do, I'm gonna tell you right now, I will be there.
Were you able to get the Limp Biscuit cover band that I
How about the
sent you?
venue? Were you able to book the venue? Because
We
I
have the venue.
that was an issue before.
Expensive free food.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's my favorite kind of free food.
That's
My
what-
favorite kind.
That's the only way.
$3,000.
That's the only way you lure people into coming to weddings is expensive free food.
Yeah. Thankfully, we
Okay, I will buy you all a towel.
No, that's present's already been taken. Okay.
No, you can never run out of towels.
Okay. But the wedding preparations are coming together. I'm very excited.
I'll also buy you towels, and they'll both say hers and hers. She's gonna just have all of your stuff anyway.
Yeah, that sounds about right. She's nodding in agreement and laughing. So yes.
In honor of last week's, I'm going to get you guys a flamethrower.
Yes.
There you go. So
Yes!
You won't have to. You won't have to fill out a
police
form or
department.
anything.
Flamethrower though.
You won't have to fill out a form or
Oh my
anything.
god! I could match that with the lawnmower picture. So a little side tangent.
Sure.
So Jackson County, Mississippi, there's the Blue Ribbon Fair going on right now. And
You can call it that.
I'm saying what they.
I'll
what
give
they
it a
call
blue ribbon because I've seen a picture from it. And that's definitely a blue ribbon entry.
They have in the convention center. They like all the vendors popped up.
Selling $12 a slice of pizza.
There was one that was like showcasing like lawnmowers and like the new John Deere lawnmower and whatnot.
That's what you need.
And then Bianca sees this.
Whoa!
yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So for the people who have to listen to this, which is everyone, explain what you're showing to it. Now you showed it to me already.
I'm showing it to you.
It was part. I don't. Once you see that once, you don't need to see it again. It is with you forever.
If you need to take care of gophers while you're mowing your yard,
or possibly
a whole army.
Your neighbors.
Yeah.
If your neighbors are giving you guff, just do a riding
And-
lawnmower with a
and
mini gun and
incidentally,
put on
your
the front of
neighbor's
it.
neighbors too. On top of that,
yeah.
What we are describing, ladies and gentlemen, is a lawnmower, a riding lawnmower with all the missiles you could imagine, along with a Gatling gun in front of it.
Yes.
Rambo's lawnmower.
I love the fair. You can get a deep fried Twinkie and that thing will be within 20 feet of it. And it's great. It's great.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's been me.
Okay, cool.
What
Yeah.
have you been doing,
That
Jody?
was the best
well,
ending
thanks.
point you could have done there, Ethan. I give you A+. Good job.
I've been continuing to play Vampire Survivors. I've unlocked some more things. I finally killed 161,161 bats.
Nice.
So I have unlocked and evolved the batter bat, or whatever it's called, the battler, which is a weapon that swarms bats all over the screen.
Okay.
And
Are these friendly bats or enemy bats?
they're friendly bats. They attack the enemy. I unlocked it and I evolved it or whatever just to get the achievement. It sucks. It's not great.
Oh.
damn.
But that's fine though, because I finally defeated Death in the game, and then Death showed up and killed me. That's okay though.
Okay.
Because I unlocked Death, which is like one of the fastest characters in the game, and also Death starts out with an evolved scythe. So you already start off with like a pimp weapon. So you're just like running around, just throwing sights everywhere, and so I killed death with death. That was fun.
There you go. How appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. And then another death showed up and killed me. So that's Vampire Survivors, And then there's DLC coming out for it at the end of the month for Castlevania
Yeah, I saw
themed
that.
stuff. Looks really cool.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the idea of, hey, you kill death, you now become death. I kind of like that concept. I've only seen it twice, though. There's an episode in The Simpsons, and it was part of the Adventure Time Distant Land shorts.
It's the old like genie adage where if you wish to be the genie, you become the genie. You wish for certain things, you become the genie.
You wish to become a genie, you have the responsibilities of a genie.
Right. It's like you have all the wishes you want, you just have to give them to other people.
Yeah.
But Vampire Survivors, I'm enjoying it. It's been a real fun journey. Once I get to a certain point, I'll go back to it now and then, like I do Slay the Spire. But the next game I'm looking forward to getting is Balatro.
Balatro, there we
which
go.
I played that last night on Jay's computer, and won my run and did endless mode, and I think I got to the second big blind.
You got to Ante 11.
Yeah, Ante 11.
Ante 11 is where the game kind of changed, because for Ante 10 you have to get like a 1.1 million, and then for the next small blind you have to get 7 million.
Yeah.
So I ended up having like 4 foiled, coined up glass aces.
Yeah.
Because I kept coming across the tarot card that lets you copy a card to the right or to the left. I can't remember.
You'd gotten Brainstorm, which
Yeah.
is copy the leftmost joker.
Right. There's that, but I mean the card that lets the
select 2 cards.
select 2 cards. The one to the left becomes a
right.
copy of it.
Death. That's the tarot card that does that.
So I was able to like turn a 2 into a glass ace with like
It had the gold seal, so every time he's playing it, he's getting $3. And then he had the hanging Chad Joker, which triggers the first card played in every run or in every hand 2 more times. So he's getting $9 and 2 times 4 and 8 times on that ace, and that ace had hollow, so he was adding 50 chips every time he was played. It's crazy, madness.
Right now, I'm trying to get the. I'm trying to win a run in under 12 rounds, but my RNG I'm getting is not lining up with what I need.
I was using the green deck, which I can't remember what the effects of that were.
Green is. I'm trying to remember.
I think it's like
I
one.
can pull the game up.
Hi, Jay.
Yeah,
Welcome to
okay.
Balatro Corner, ladies and gentlemen. Green deck is there is no money for interest on the money you have. You get $2 for every hand you have left and $1 for every discard you have left.
Right. And so like early on I was just being able to craft it to where I was like discarding hardly anything. I just kept getting dealt amazing hands. So I'd play it took 1 to 2 hands and I was winning every one.
Yeah.
So Balatro pretty fun game. So Uzumaki wrapped up already cuz there's only 4 episodes to it. I think there were some issues with the studio when they were making it. This was in production since 2018. I'm gonna go over it real quick because the last episode, actually episodes 3 and 4, were kind of disappointing. You could tell that all the budget went to the first episode for the animation. The first episode's amazing. It sets it up really nice, and then they just like shotgun through the story. And so you have like 4 20, 30-minute episodes for... I mean, the graphic novel was only, I think, originally like 3 manga. So it's already, Junji Ito's usually does like, when he does short stories or he does long form stories, it's normally like a bunch of short stories together that kind of connect to a degree. And that's Uzumaki and Tomei for the most part. The first episode's really good. The pacing of it's fine. Right, like when you start like episode 2, halfway through it, you can tell that they didn't have the money for it anymore. And then like 3 and 4, oh my god! In 4, which is the last one that I just watched. It came out Sunday on Max. Man, the animation's fucking shit. Like there's a cool side panel in the original graphic novel / manga where these spiral tornadoes are happening in town, and then you come to find out that it's actually like there are teenagers that are doing it, and they're inside the tornadoes, causing the tornadoes to do what they're doing. Yeah, it's wild. But the image is like those. If you remember seeing like maybe from like 10 plus years ago, like old like flash animation of like things sort of moving around a still character. That's sort of what it looked like, and it wasn't just the animation. It was also just like they just cut out so much.
Yeah.
That story, once they kind of wrap it up in the original story and the original novel, is already sort of convoluted and kind of hard to understand because it's a lot of Ito stuff anyway. When he's trying to resolve the end of a story, a lot of times that's why like his short stories work well, especially in Tomei, because they just kind of end most of the time abruptly and there's no real resolution. You don't really have to have that in short stories, but
Well, also in horror, you don't necessarily need resolution.
But in Uzumaki, there's a build up to an end of explaining exactly what's been going on and why, and it just like the last 30 seconds in the animated series. Yeah, they really screwed the pooch on Uzumaki.
I was interested in what you were going to say about it when I was looking through IGN, and they gave the whole season a 3 out of 10.
Yeah,
That's
I was like,
whoa.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Apparently, a lot of people didn't like as a whole the Netflix show, but I liked a lot of the episodes in it. I will say some of the episodes were worse than other ones as far as like the animation goes. Like a lot of people like really, especially anime fans, really harp on certain things. I give a lot of things a pass when it comes to storytelling, especially when it's coming from like Junji Ito or somebody of that caliber. So if there are any shortcuts in the original, I would have to go back and watch it again. But I really didn't see many in the original Netflix show. But that's me. And then I started another show that's on Netflix, but apparently it's on Crunchyroll as well, and that's Dan.
I've seen things about it.
Yeah,
I want to say
entirely
I've
know-
heard of it. But
So-
I don't
cannot
entirely
remember.
know what it is.
It's well, it stands out because it's different. The problem with anime now, for the most part, is that you have two different kinds of genres that people tend to like, or quote unquote mainstream genres now, which are the shonen fight animes like My Hero Academia, and then the isekai animes, which are basically like your protagonist is either from another world or they died and were reborn into another world.
And all of those are let's just autofill let's just start a sentence and then autofill it, and then that's what the name of the anime is.
Let's create a Mad Lib.
Yeah.
I will say that there is one that's really good. That's an isekai called That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the shorter titles.
I think that was one of the, like when isekai started actually becoming big, like that was one of the earlier ones
Yeah,
that
it
got a lot of
was.
praise, and then everybody started doing that. Like,
Konosuba it's just like anything else, really. Like the same thing was like back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Harem animes were the thing.
Oh, yeah,
And I fucking hate that genre. There's like only one or two animes that I kind of like in that genre, and that was the ones that started it. And because they didn't it was just part of the story.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the reason for everything. So Dan is really cool because I'm not comparing it to Fooly Cooly, but it's got some of that energy that FLCL has. And your two main characters are high school students. This one dude is talking to this girl, and he's not talking to her like he's interested in her at all. He just thinks that she's weird, just like him. And he goes, "Hey, do you like ghosts? Do you like ghosts and like paranormal stuff?" And she's like, "No, ghosts are stupid." UFOs are where it's at.
Okay.
Or it's reversed. I can't remember. One likes one thing and one likes the other.
Yeah.
And they end up in this like abandoned warehouse because he's like, I think there's some UFOs going on in this warehouse. We should check it out. And so he becomes cursed by this demon lady.
Okay.
And then aliens show up and try to probe her.
Okay.
And so they're trying to help each other.
I will say, I saw a clip of the old spirit chasing the guy.
Yeah.
I think that is funny.
Yeah, yeah. And her and he ends up being possessed by this demon, and then she's trying to help him. And so it's got Fooly Cooley energy. There's a lot of wild shit happening and a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm really enjoying it. They're dropping one episode a week on Netflix. So the new episode I think drops tonight for episode 4. So I'm really digging it. That's really cool. And then the other thing I did was I don't know if you guys have noticed this or how much you're on Facebook, but there's these weird there's these weird ads for like oddball streaming services that show up every once in a while. Much like Mubi, which is like, one that like has like mostly international stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like a Criterion Collection site. It's like a site.
Right. And so I saw a trailer show up, and a lot of these show up, and I'm like, I don't know if this is AI or not. It could be. So I Googled the name of this movie, and I'm like, oh, this is a real movie.
Oh, wow.
And it's on Tubi.
Okay.
So
Did you watch it?
I watched it
Okay.
in full. It's called Visitors from the Galaxy Arcana, Arkana. It's a 1981 Croatian sci-fi fantasy film where the plot is that there is a
Oh dear Lord.
there's a writer, and unknowingly to him at first, his writing starts coming to life. And you're like, man, that sounds like adaptation or something. But it's from 81. And so, you think like at first it's like it's implied that, oh, he's crazy. Everyone thinks he's crazy because he keeps seeing like all these like weird aliens and robots doing shit. But then the village people, not the village people from the 70s, people of his village.
No, the village people.
The village people.
YMCA.
They're not
in
too
the
far
Navy.
off.
Yeah,
to be
okay, there we
honest.
go.
The village, the people of his village start seeing and experiencing this weird shit that's going on. Now, I'm overselling in this.
Is this a sequel to Stalker?
This is about the same time period.
Oh yeah, Andrei Tarkovsky was all over this.
So
This is like some Naked Lunch shit.
it's very mixed in that regard, because the first third of it, it's very, very slow build up. And then the middle of the movie, you have like a lot of the weird interactions with the alien. It's very sparsed out. It's not like you're not getting hit with like stimulation like the whole time, like Naked Lunch. You're not getting hit with constant like, eye candy or anything like that, or just weird special effects until the third act.
Okay.
Where one of the space children uses a laser beam to animate a toy alien that turns into a 6-foot, like almost Cronenbergian fucking
Okay, that's
figure.
probably the thing that I saw there.
And it starts ripping people's heads off and shooting fire out of its third mouth.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've had a nightmare about this thing.
It is
before.
definitely a fever dream of a movie. Now, it only suffers from pacing because it's like an hour
That's
and 40.
the only thing it suffers
It's
from.
an hour and 45 minutes long. So
Okay.
certain parts do drag out in the middle of this movie. But it was definitely worth the watch. And then it ended how you would expect it to end.
Yeah.
So, yes, the Croatian sci-fi fantasy Visitors from the Galaxy Arcanus.
Arcana Galaxy.
Yeah.
I've had a nightmare about this giant fucking mosquito alien thing.
I will say the special effects for that giant fucking mosquito costume thing that's where all their money went. Because you could tell that they were in Croatia because the car he was driving was made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
So
Dear Lord.
that's what I've been up to.
Okay.
Jay, do we have any feedback?
Are you sure you didn't accidentally play a game of 10 candles by yourself and then that was the thing right there?
No,
Yes.
that's a real movie.
Yes, we have more feedback, ladies and gentlemen. Again, JT, fellow podcaster from Bearded Drums, his quote, "The boy and the heroin review is what drugs sound like." My direct response to him is, the movie is what drugs sound like.
Yeah.
Thank him. Also, he's thinking about getting into Age of Sigmar 4th edition. He was supposed to be here tonight, but he wasn't.
Sweet.
So we need to talk him up.
We're gonna get him next
I mean,
week.
so
though.
are we. I guess we haven't played it in a while. So
We haven't played in a while. But we've had Marvel Champions. We've had RPGs that we've been doing. Our gaming plate is full and vibrant with a whole bunch of things that we can play.
Our palates is ever expanding.
There you go. Absolutely. But yeah, that is our feedback for this week. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being passengers on the bus. If you would like to leave us feedback yourselves on this or any of our previous episodes, travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L, on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, where else can they engage with us?
Spotify.
Yes, you can take part with any comments or polls that we have on any of our past episodes that are still active. Also, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us on the bus this week. If you would like to share this with other people who listen to podcasts but not on the same channels that you do, we are available on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music through our YouTube channel of Travelers on the Omnibus, and iHeartRadio.
That being said, I think it's time for our main topic. Fear. No, I'm kidding.
No, do it again. Do it. We need the echo. We need the echo. I think this is the echo.
Fear. Some call it scary. This is our second half of the show. We are going to basically be wrapping up our whole month of horror movies that we've all watched. Especially last week, the one we watched together. It was a fun time. Night of the Creeps. We're here to go over some of our favorites, what we think people should start maybe at watching.
Okay, so let me start with this. Do we think when starting people out with horror movies, should it be like a group activity? Should be like, hey, let's get some people together. People don't usually watch horror movies.
It depends on the movie you pick. Something like Night of the Creeps, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also this for you also don't want to be in that position where you're sitting there watching it with the person and then you're constantly like looking over, are they reacting like they're supposed to react and everything like that. That's just annoying. I try not to do that.
A movie like Night of the Creeps, you can get away with paying partial attention to certain times of what's going on screen. I would find it really annoying for the most part if I was trying to show somebody something like John Carpenter's The Thing in a group of 5 or 6 people, and there's like 1 or 2 people every so often trying to have a conversation when they should be paying attention to the movie. So I think, again, I agree with Brady. I think it depends. Like if it's camp, for sure. Yeah. Like 100%. Or 80s, most 80s slasher films. I think it's a group activity. And you could have maybe like some Mystery Science Theater thing where you make some like comments about what's going on. You could have some really cool reactions to certain things that are going on. Yeah, and I think it also depends if it's over the top. Also, like if certain movies have some really really bad or weird pacing issues, and so that makes better for like a group activity because you can pass the time by talking briefly in between things that are not happening. One of the 2 of the worst outliers in that are The Incredible Melting Man and Oasis of the Zombies, which was shot in the dark with no lighting.
Okay. He could be making up these titles.
And we just believe him.
With paper mache.
I will confirm to him that he is not making this shit up. Yeah.
With paper mache for zombie makeup, which is why it was shot in the dark.
Okay,
and they shot it
makes
in
sense.
the desert.
Okay.
In the Italian desert, wherever.
Sand deserts.
So yeah, those are fun for group watches. But for solo watches, you have so many. There's so many really that you could start off with. Yeah. Ethan, what about you? What have you been?
You kind of hit it on the head with like it depends on the movie whether you want it to be with a group or you want to watch it solo. we kind of like discussed this when we were talking about The Invisible Man. What I like to see in horror movies is a good amount of like suspense,
Yeah.
things that keep me like on the edge of my seat, kind of like ready to like jump up or what, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting enough to like keep me hooked in and paying attention to the movie.
Yeah.
So like The Invisible Man, it did that amazingly, and so I'd like to find more movies that are similar like that can broaden my watching.
You should watch Autopsy of Jane Doe.
I have seen that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember a conversation you, me, and Winter
That's a
had
good
one.
a few years ago.
That's a good one.
No.
And I was scrolling through Netflix. I'm like, this is the movie we're talking about. I'm Home Alone. Click.
Oh
And
yeah, that's a creepy one to watch alone.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
I hated it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I
you
enjoyed
hated it and enjoyed it. That's you
You'd
know.
probably also like if you're like something like probably The Black Coat's Daughter.
Black Coat's Daughter. I don't think
Yeah.
I've heard of that one.
It's the same guy who directed Long Legs, Osgood Perkins. It's a really good one, and it's interesting. With
Black
the
Coat.
The Black Coat's Daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was thinking about this, part of what I did was just write down a bunch of other movies, but then I also thought about like literally somebody who has absolutely never seen a horror movie. What are some things that I would look for in a horror movie to or not look for also? Like one of the things is not overtly long, I would say. You know, you don't want to show them like Quiet On, where it's like 3 hours or some shit like that.
You want like 90 minutes.
Yeah,
normal.
90 minutes, 2 hours at the most. Anything
Yeah.
more than that, I think unless it's like a top tier fucking
Like The Thing is like 145 or something, or close to 2 hours.
yeah, unless it's like a top tier thing, like you want to make sure because that long of even if it is like a very tense movie or a very intense movie, like longer than 2 hours could be, I think like that could be too much as well. But
Also, you could start losing interest.
but the good thing about that part is most horror movies aren't super long. Like they get
Typically.
in and they get out.
Typically, yeah.
They get in.
Yeah.
Like I think I would say that and probably comedies. Those are the two genres where those
You don't need a lot of time.
average out. They're going to be closer to 90 minutes than most any other genre.
Right.
Would you say that like 85 minutes would be like a good length for? a
Well,
horror movie?
80
It all depends.
Technically, in the old 88 minutes is the shortest that a quote unquote actual movie should be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
that a feature film.
A feature film.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I have a good movie recommendation for y'all.
Okay.
Two Sisters.
Get the gun. Get the gun.
I
Get the
can
gun.
spend.
Get the gun.
I can think of like so many other things to spend $5 on.
Let me take Ethan's request for us to watch
Okay.
Two Sisters, and I'm gonna ask Ethan to watch two other foreign
A Tale
films.
of Two Sisters.
Tale
Would
of
you ask
Two
him to
Sisters.
ask?
You can do that,
Yeah.
or you can watch the Southern Korean horror movie Nurse. Don't do that. Or you could watch the late 80s to early 90s, well before the J horror boom started. And watch this Japanese thriller called Organ. Don't do that. It's also terrible.
But I would
Gotcha.
recommend Evil Dead Trap.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Evil Dead Trap came out in 88. It's good. Don't watch the second one. It's a mess. Literally.
Yeah, one of the ones, since we're talking about like Asian cinema, one of the ones that and this is also what I had thought about besides The Tale of Two Sisters is The Host by Bong Joon-ho. Is a monster movie.
Yes.
And it also has like an environmentalism message.
It's like a mutant tadpole. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's basically like a giant mutant tadpole with legs. It's really good. I haven't watched it recently, so I can't say like how the CGI and everything holds up as well. So if it doesn't hold up super well, forgive me. But it's a really, really good movie.
If we're doing South Korea real quick, I'd like to talk about The Eye. The
yeah.
original The Eye.
There are a lot, and just really quick, there are a lot of those the American, if the American remake came out in like the 2000s, just go back and watch the original Japanese version.
I will say,
and it's going to be really good.
I could say this,
or Korean, or whatever, wherever it
for
was
sure.
from.
The Eye is really good. The original Korean movie is really good.
Is the 2002 version?
Yes. The American version would be the one with Jessica Alba, which came out in like 2005.
2008.
2000. Okay. Yeah. So that one's not a terrible rendition of the original movie. It's not like Dark Water or Pulse.
Yeah.
But it is not as good as the original. Where we had talked before earlier in the month, briefly when we were talking about like movies like Ringu and versus The Ring and Ju-on versus The Grudge, and how they're very close to each other in quality. Sometimes the American counterpart actually being better, depending on how you feel about it. And those are good, but the Eye's really good. I'll give you a quick synopsis of the plot. So, a woman who went blind at a very young age is undergoing a experimental treatment for being able to have her sight restored, and the donor of the eyes, something really is off by the process. And so since she's literally not seen anything for over 30 years or around that time period, she, much like in Sixth Sense, she doesn't know she's seeing dead people, which is like one of the cool things. But you as the viewer, you know that that's not normal, but she doesn't know because she hasn't seen. So it adds a whole different layer to the suspense of the movie.
Yeah.
While you mentioned it, I've never seen Sixth Sense.
Okay.
Just because you mentioned it.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's one of those that it is best if you know the twist, right? Or do you not?
Like Bruce Willis is the ghost or
Yes.
something like
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, that ruins a lot of the
knowing
mystique.
it and have never seen it. Like, it's not going to be as good. It's,
punch isn't
It's
gonna
more
be
about
there.
the punch, and then when
Yeah.
you go back and watch it, being able to connect all the things. That's like if you've never watched it, but you know the twist, like, it's not going to be as good to you.
Also,
I think.
Also, like, recommending movies to someone who's like completely like, never watched a horror movie before. You'd have to. I would personally have to ask him, like, okay, like, how squeamish are you?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I put on here. Is like,
like personal preferences.
well, not just personal preferences, but like what triggers you. Like, is this going to be too much? Because I can promise you that, like, if a movie unnerves me or grosses me out, I'm not going to recommend like David Cronenberg's The Fly to anybody.
Funny enough, though, I was thinking about the original The Fly.
Yes.
Might actually be a good one because it has kind of the body horror, but it's not gross.
Right.
And there is it is a terrifying movie when the more you think about it.
Right.
That's interesting. But I put on here is like, hey, probably don't want to start with body horror. You probably don't want to start with anything from what they called the French extremity. Possibly religious horror, depending on how the person is.
You can trigger somebody with certain things, like there's one from the 80s, Layer of the White Worm, came out in 88. It's actually one of Hugh Grant's first movies.
Okay.
It's got a lot of. It's not like it's not a lot of blasphemy, but there is a lot of religious imagery in it, because it's a Scottish folk tale turned into a horror movie. It's actually really cool. It's probably on Tubi or Max or something.
It's somewhere because I know a podcast I listened to had watched it.
And so it's sort of like a take on a vampire, but it's more like like snake thing.
Walmart actually had like a Blu-ray of this during Halloween. I saw it and I was like, huh, I know that movie. I
gotta go by Walmart and see if they got it so I can pick it up.
It might not have been this Halloween. It was it was for something that they had it.
it's a really interesting take on the quote unquote like vampire subgenre because she's not a vampire. She's more of a snake, a worm.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, going all the way back to the crucifixion, and there's some weird shit with it. So that's not a movie I would recommend. But the thing is, it's not overtly gross.
Yeah.
It's not overtly scary. It's just really like unsettling atmosphere.
Yeah.
And very abnormal.
You definitely need to know the person. Another thing I put on here
read the
is, like,
room kind of thing.
Cannibal horror, you might not want to. Not everybody's okay with being able to watch that.
Let me ask y'all.
Okay.
With taking in like people's personal like preferences, things that like things that they're not typically drawn towards. Are these like the reasons why you won't recommend like a person's stereotypical like horror movie? Like, ask someone's like, hey, what name a horror movie? They go like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Halloween, I think, is
Friday the
actually a very
13th.
good one to start with.
Halloween
it
is
is
great because that was a contained story.
Yeah.
Even with the ending, that story can end there, and you're good with that.
and there is violence, but it's not like indulgent violence. It actually, if you've watched a lot of like slasher movies and you go back and you've never watched Halloween, but then you go back, it kind of looks a little tame. But for somebody who's never watched horror movies, that might be a good start for them, because it is like kind of one of the big starts for that subgenre. And the characters are interesting. You have an interesting main character. You have, Donald Pleasant's character is interesting. The idea of Michael Myers is easy to grasp. There's really no explanation that you need for him. It's just this dude. There's nothing behind his eyes, and he just wants to kill people.
And then, like, if you go like a few years before that, like five or so years before that, and you go Texas Chainsaw, like, I wouldn't recommend that. To that's too much.
No, that's my favorite one, and I probably wouldn't recommend that to start out with.
That is too much. Even going back even further, there's scenes in Blood Feast from the late 60s where they used a cow tongue to replicate a woman's tongue being ripped out of her mouth. That was like at the beginning of exploitation horror.
Well, that was like he has a 3 name, like one of them's Gordon. Wait, isn't it
Herschel Gordon Lewis?
Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's talking about the Grindhouse cinema.
Yes.
And definitely I would avoid Grindhouse cinema.
Right, for sure.
But even like Texas Chainsaw, it's actually not as gory of a movie.
No,
all
of it's implied.
All of it's implied, but it is a gross movie. Like, you feel everybody in this movie
feels gross.
Feels gross.
Yeah.
Even our leads. And they like every single one of them, you want them to please stop somewhere and take a shower, for God's sake.
Like,
remember,
you have to take a shower after you watch the movie.
I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, I think 17 or something, and the scene where she falls into the bones, which apparently she had to they had to shoot that like a lot.
Yeah. And there was no air conditioning in this house.
Yeah, so you just smelled of like dead birds.
Yeah.
But like when she like falls into slides into like a whole floor full of like skeletons and bones, I just felt sick. Like literally physically sick while I was watching that scene. And I wouldn't want to like, suggest that to be a first movie for somebody.
I also put down on here, I'm sorry, I'm kind of
No, go ahead.
But, it needs to be easy to kind of get the movie.
Right.
You don't want to have, okay, here I have to have like a 10-minute talk with you before you even watch this so you can grasp what's happening. Or afterwards we have to sit down and have a discussion so that you understand what the fuck happened.
What do you think would be a good example of that?
I didn't get that for Bride of Reanimator. I didn't get that pep talk.
Mandy but I don't think Mandy you have to really get, but it's more of a vibes thing. But
sure.
Something like that.
Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Anything from the 2 Greeks.
The Greek guys.
Pasmos Cosmatos and
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yorgos Lanthimos, yeah.
Although he hasn't really done horror.
He does though some stuff that edges on that.
There is like an awkwardness that borders on tension.
Yeah.
Or really falls into tension.
Yeah.
Jody, what did I look up when I did Beyond the Black Rainbow? What am I looking at?
You are looking at the
simple-
mind. That's the same guy who did Mandy.
Yeah.
What the?
That's Padmos Cosmatos.
But yeah, it needs to be something to where
I don't like this dude's face. I just don't.
Yeah.
it needs to be something that like
So if that was the first horror movie we ever recommended you would not be plus.
No,
You would be completely
nah.
non-plus.
Nah,
Like,
this
it's easy
is
to
a
understand.
whole negative over here.
although one that I put on here that I think is it's a very special case. Like you have to find the right person for this one, and basically like they have to be like if they call themselves a cinemaphile, they might actually like this one. It's Skinamarink. It is confusing and it's very hard to understand and it's very abstract and it's really a vibes movie. But I think that there are some people where that could be a very good entrance because there's no violence, but there are some scenes where you're like, Jesus Christ, I know something's going to happen. I know
Right.
something's going to fucking happen. But that's like the right perfect person. I think you would have to. There's maybe like 10 people in the world, maybe I don't know. But for some reason that one popped into my head.
I think
I know there was a video that Matt Pat, the game theorist, he did a video on.
you don't have to
Skinamarink,
explain
but-
Matt Pat. We all fucking know. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Picking.
It's okay, Brady. It's okay.
it's just a theory,
Yeah.
a film theory.
Yeah.
He's retired.
He is. Continue.
So
No, you said that you started saying something.
I
There's
said
a-
that
you
he
interrupted me,
He made a
and then-
video on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I
okay.
said.
I stopped watching Matt Pat a very long time ago.
speaking of movies like Skinamarink, I thought also two different like you have so many different kinds like horror can fit a mood, and so if you want to be actually scared or if you want to like push the boundaries of what scares you, that would be something that I would ask the person. It's like, okay, like how easily are you frightened? Because like I'm not a fan of jump scares, but I think if they're done right,
Fucking hate them.
if they're done right, that they can be implemented perfectly. And two movies that do it very well, modern films, or three actually. I'm going to mention. One is Babadook.
yeah.
I think Babadook is a really good entry into like your first horror movie.
Yeah.
It kind of like gets you. It's very unsettling, but it's not overtly so.
That opens up another thing that I want to talk about. It's great.
The Conjuring. I
Okay.
think The Conjuring. It's a good introduction to the subgenre of haunted house / possession.
Yeah, I fucking hate The Conjuring because I didn't know it was a possession movie until about 3/4 of the way in. I was like, "Fuck you,
Yeah.
because I'm not big on possession movies.
Right. They do it really well though.
Yeah,
That one has jump scares.
Yeah.
That implement it really
yeah.
well.
I put like not a few cheap scares. Like you can have jump scares, but they need to be good. But talking about like the Babadook, I think that opens up on what I had called when we talked about the Invisible Man, that quote unquote elevated horror. Which again, I fucking hate that. It's just like
Right.
It's the easiest way to lump all of these together.
Right.
But I think that there's a few of those. I think the one that came out about the same time as the Babadook, It Follows. I think that's a really good one
Yeah.
that you could start out with people with.
I think Midsummer also.
Midsummer.
It's not.
Midsummer to me is too long. But it is but that's like I feel like that's more to me. It's
two,
more
two
of
and
a
a
ne-
half hours.
It's more of a next step up.
Yeah, that's true.
And the director's cut's like 3.5 hours.
Well, I mean, like if we're talking about like scary movies,
Yeah.
like it's not really of a scary movie for the most part.
To me, the one that stuck out of those, especially if it's someone who likes history, The Witch.
The Witch.
The Witch.
That's
I think
another.
is a-
It's also like a 2-hour movie. Though.
Yeah, but
hour and a half.
Oh wow! It
Yeah.
feels longer for some
Yeah.
reason.
It-
Not in a bad way.
yeah, it's because everybody's so old timey.
This is the one with the black goat.
The
that's-
Black Goat. Yeah,
Yeah,
Black Phillip.
Yep.
Um,
Hereditary is not one I would start
no,
anybody
no,
on.
no, 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 no. There,
Not unless you like Toni Collette losing her shit.
yeah. Which, hey, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
Yo, have you seen Hereditary, Ethan?
No, however, for some
Have you
reason I've
watched
heard
Midsummer?
No,
Wow.
You need to watch Mary
For
Astor.
some reason, I've heard there's been a
I
lot
need you
of
to watch.
talking of.
I need to watch Hereditary, Midsummer,
And The Witch.
and Beau is Afraid.
Oh, Bo was afraid. I still
And
haven't seen-
also
And
A
then
Tale of Two Sisters.
and then talk to me and then be like, what the fuck have you made me watch? Because one of these things is not like the other.
And I need you to watch Audition, Itchy the no, not Itchy the
And
Killer.
Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Tetsuo
Just
the-
finish off the trilogy.
Tetsuo. Well, Takashi Miike did not direct
Didn't do
Tetsuo
Tetsuo,
the
right, but
but
as far as weird, crazy Japanese horror
Yeah,
shit,
yeah.
The
Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Jesus
Ichi
Christ,
the
fuck
Killer.
that. No,
Just watch
Audition.
Ichi the Killer
Just
3
watch
times.
Audition
What
3
the
times.
fuck is this?
What are you looking at?
Tetsuo the.
why did you look that up?
I got
right-
curious.
Because
okay?
right now, anything we mention to him, he looks up.
It's
so we
on
need to be very
YouTube.
careful with this power.
It's on YouTube,
What
I'm
the
pretty
fuck
sure.
is this?
I have it on
it's,
DVD.
It's Tetsuo the Iron Man. I
Yeah.
don't know. We didn't
Nah.
stutter.
They made a sequel called Body Hammer.
Jesus Christ. So we can, for
They
God's
also
sake,
made a
stop
po-
talking
they also
about
made a-
Tetsuo the Iron
They
Man.
also
third
made a
movie.
porn version
Yeah.
called Iron Hammer. Iron Hammer.
So I think another good way to get people into horror is horror comedies.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love them
Yeah, I
when
think
they're
that those are
done,
a good.
when they're done right.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, they
Yeah.
can. It's very easy to be done
Dracula,
wrong.
Dead and Loving It. One of the greatest. Won 7 Oscars for nothing.
Oh man, Mel Brooks, man. So yeah, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I think
That's
is a
a
very
great
good one.
movie.
That's a great one to get people in. You have to make with that one. You need to make sure that like they're okay with like blood and stuff like that.
Also, it helps if they've seen some of the easier to
Yeah.
watch slasher movies.
Well, yeah, now
because
that might be like a damn. That's a tough one. 'cause
I think
there's so-
Shaun of the Dead probably.
Shaun of the Dead I have listed on here. That's a definite one. Because I think people understand even if they don't watch horror movies, like you tell a person, you say, hey, what's a zombie?
They know.
Anybody can
Yeah.
explain what that is, and they know kind of
Right.
the tropes of a zombie. Another
Have
one I
not
have
watched
on
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead I have on here. I think that's a great one. It's an older movie that does not feel like an old movie.
It holds up very well.
But one I want to talk on here because I get any chance that I get to mention this movie I want to, and that is The Wolf of Snow Hollow. That is a good horror comedy. It can be brutal in parts, so you need to make sure that the person is okay with that kind of stuff. But I would also say that one. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead. That's a definitely one on here.
And even though it's on the higher echelon of elevated horror, as we don't like to call it,
Yeah.
Suspiria 1977 and the Hulu remake, they're both equally good.
Yes. Yeah.
To
They-
the point where I would watch those as a double feature.
They tell a similar story just in
Differently.
different
Yeah.
ways. Like even the way that they kind of the new one kind of flips the color palette.
It does. But I like the
is
way they
very
did it.
is very
Yeah.
interesting. I love the things that they do with
And,
that.
and the thing is, like, I would definitely warn anybody trying to get a new horror fan or somebody that you're trying to introduce horror to into Italian horror in giallo, is that don't. You have to start with Suspiria and kind of ease them into it. Maybe Deep Red, but like a lot of those, like especially the Fulci movies, are like overly gory.
Deep Red is one of the few movies, in my opinion, that is ruined by its soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because
I would
there are
agree.
scenes in that movie that should have no fucking sound and
Right.
be fucking terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
And they have this disco
Yeah.
fucking upbeat shit going on.
Yeah.
Imagine Michael Myers killing to someone to "I Will Survive," or not with
Right.
no vocals, just the backing track. Of,
Damn.
no, it's no.
Although Fulci had Lucio Fulci had some of the straightforward titles like Gates of Hell,
Yeah.
and then he would have like titles like Cat in the Brain or like Girl with the Crystal Plumage or some shit or what. I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of that one. But most of the Italian movies are going to be
Or sometimes you have a movie called Zombie.
yeah, that's true too. Zombie 2
Yeah.
as well.
I think it's the bird with the crystal.
The
plumage.
bird with the crystal plumage.
Oh, just taking a step back to the elevated horror as well. One that I definitely want to mention because I think this one of those, I think this is like the perfect one, and that's Get Out.
Yeah.
Get Out,
Yeah.
I think, is like the perfect one. And then watch the rest of Jordan Peele's movies because I think the other two are also phenomenal. But that's the best one to get in.
Did he do Us?
He did
Yes.
Us,
Yep.
and then he did
Okay.
Nope.
No,
I think
yeah.
And all three of those I think are phenomenal. But that's the one that you
Yeah.
start somebody with.
I think that and Us too. Really, I think you could start with Us as well.
Us does it. The I like Us better. But Get Out is just such a solid script, and like the story is so like perfectly paced, and like it's so easy to understand,
And it's straightforward.
it's very straightforward. Whereas Us, you're gonna have to explain some things, and they might start asking the questions about some things that don't fit perfectly with the movie. And then you have to just tell them, well, you got to turn your brain off on that. But it makes me want to think about these other things. Well, you got to turn your brain on for that. So that's why, even though like I would really like to say like, hey, watch
Us first.
Us first. Get Out, I think, is the better one to start with. To me.
I think also like modern suspense is a good subgenre of horror as well. Hitchcock, we've talked about Hitchcock.
Yeah.
We've done Psycho.
We did Psycho, yeah.
Psycho.
Psycho's a really good starter.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, personally,
Yeah.
I think Psycho's a good starter.
There are parts.
Rear Window.
towards the
Rear
end.
Window.
Rear
is-
Window.
Yeah.
Rear Window is great. I've got one.
We mentioned Vertigo, right? If we're
Vertigo also.
if we're
Yeah.
plugging up some, though I
Vertigo
would say
to me
it's
is
less,
more suspense
Right.
than thriller.
but
than
to me also the same way. Rear Window's not
Rear
horror. to me,
Window
Right.
it's
It's more
suspense.
suspense for sure.
Psycho's kind of the only.
And it's in between
The
right?
Birds. The
The
Birds.
Birds.
The Birds
Yeah.
is a horror movie.
Yeah, The Birds is definitely a horror movie. That one,
The fact he
Maybe.
got them to show a man with pecked out fucking eyes.
yeah, that one might be one to think about
And
as
Tippi
well.
Hedren would definitely call that a horror movie.
Oh yeah. Do you know about The Birds, Ethan?
No.
So Tippi Hedren, the main character, she didn't really like birds, and there was a scene at the end where she gets attacked by birds, and they told her that no, we're just going to use robotic birds. Now this was in what, like the 60s.
Yes.
63.
So I don't even understand like how she fell for this.
Yeah,
But they were
mechanical
like,
birds.
We're going to use mechanical birds. Don't worry. And what they did was, this all takes place in like an attic.
Okay.
They tied birds to her, live birds, and then they threw more live birds at her.
Yeah.
And subsequently, she never worked with Hitchcock again because the
That
man.
was supposed to be Bubo's first feature, but then he waited for Clash of the Titans.
Did she not have any suspicious?
I don't know.
prior
I like
to the
how we're
Birds?
jumping around. Let me jump to the 80s real quick for
Okay,
a second.
okay.
All right. So I think that not as a whole franchise on some of these, of course, the ones that I'm mentioning that are a franchise, but I think especially the first ones are really good. The original Friday the 13th. I think that's a fantastic film. There is a little bit of gruesome in there, but I don't
Yeah.
think too much. Prom Night.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen Prom Night. It's
I've seen it, and then I saw the 2000s remake that had they redid Time After Time with Quiet Drive. So it's
Wow.
like lying my bed, I hear the clock. Like no,
stay away from
No.
the 2000s. Most American.
no.
movies.
There's some stuff in the there's a few things in the 2000s.
There are very few in the early 2000s. Very few things. My Bloody Valentine.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, the original. That's
The
another
original.
one in the 2000s.
Of course, if I'm mentioning it, I'm talking about the original movie.
So
David Boreanaz with asthma in the
this
remake.
this brings up, because this another one that I put in here, avoid awkward explanations.
Oh.
And the one
Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp. You don't want to have to explain that. You don't want to have to explain that. Just don't do it. The first Reanimator. You don't want to have to
Yeah.
explain why is this dismembered head sexual assaulting this woman. You don't want to have to explain that.
The
Just
second Reanimator. Don't explain anything.
just think about a movie and be like, is there an awkward conversation that I'm going to have after this movie? And if you say yes on that, just say, well, we're not gonna do this movie.
Yeah, naked lunch balls under that umbrella.
Well, pretty much.
Naked Lunch was Cronenberg, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything Cronenberg.
Most anything Cronenberg.
Videodrome.
Videodrome.
Videodrome in particular.
Oh
like,
my
Yeah.
God.
Naked Lunch,
Videodrome.
you can just do. Everyone's fucking crazy.
Right.
Videodrome is like, what the fuck are these people doing?
Existence.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That one's.
Which sounds like a dick pill now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Somebody brought up a very interesting thing, and I didn't think about it, and I think they're right, is that Cronenberg is very good at being of the time that he is making that movie.
Mhm.
Like all of his 80s movies feel like this is the fucking 80s. And all of
Right.
his 90s movies and 2000s like Existence like feels like that's a 2000s movie.
Right. Nightbreed feels like it came out in '89.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where would y'all place like the Stephen King horror movies?
I think most
Well,
of
that's
them.
a mixed bag, sir.
I think it depends.
so
Carrie
the
is
original
exceptional.
Carrie,
like for
yeah.
instance, Carrie is exceptional.
Carrie is good, but
Needful Things, no.
there are some there's some awkward stuff in Carrie.
Tommy Knockers is also a no.
Yeah.
Legoliers is also a no.
Most anything
Misery.
Misery is
Misery is a yes.
That's a good starter because it's not gory, but there are some very like disturbing scenes. It's kind of like Audition Light.
It's very much in that vein.
Yeah.
I like The Dark Half. It's one of my favorite stories by him, and it's also one of my favorite movies by him. And it's really strange compared to some of the other stuff he's done. Pet Sematary is also the original movie. The original movie, not the remake.
I would say The Shining is not a good starter one.
No,
that's
too much.
That's too much of a movie.
There's stuff going on in the meta with that one as well. That can kind of throw
in
things
the
off.
off chance that you have someone who likes Stanley Kubrick, but they haven't watched The Shining, but they don't like horror, so they haven't watched The Shining. That's one that you can start them with because they understand how Stanley Kubrick movies go.
Right.
But
quick tangent, I do recommend the documentary Room 237.
Yeah,
that
because
one's pretty good.
It kind of shows you like the same thing can be viewed by people with different angles, and they come in and come out of it at completely different points in what they're seeing in the movie.
What about the original Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yes, 100%.
That I was I didn't write it down, but that is definitely I think a good one to start out with.
And then warn them not to watch any of the other ones with exception of 3. You can watch 3. Skip
That's
2.
Dream Warriors, correct?
Yeah. Skip 2.
No, make them deal with 2.
Oh.
Watch 1 first.
Yes, of course.
And then make them deal.
Okay. Well, watch 1 first. Watch 2 and go, what the fuck? And then it's like, no, it gets better. They're gonna be Marvel superheroes in the 3rd one.
Yeah.
And then the 4th and 5th one, and after that gets really weird and bad.
Final Nightmare.
Did y'all enjoy, I don't think we've talked about this. The remake for Nightmare on Elm Street, the 2010.
Let me tell you.
What are y'all's?
I love Jackie Earl Haley,
Yes.
the actor.
I
Yeah,
love
that was the
Jackie Earle
guy who
Haley.
played in
Rorschach.
Watchmen.
Rorschach.
Yep.
I love
He's
Jackie Earle
great.
Haley. I think his voice is perfect for Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
There is too much of that movie. That's one where the monolith is casts too much of a shadow. Robert Englund, is perfectly cast. There's no one else that can do that. And as much as I like Jackie Earle Haley, there's no one else that can do that.
The way I feel about that movie, and anytime I talk about it, I mention this. The original, there's a reason why he's a jaded, burnt up fucking ghost or entity that came back, and it's because of what the parents of the town did. They did that in retcon later on. They touch on that in the 2010 movie. There's a point, though, in that movie where they start a hook where he was killed unjustified. Like he was killed unwarranted because of assumptions. And then immediately they went, no, C-3PO has his memory back.
Yeah.
And like, fuck you. Because they could have done that and completely like rewrote the original concept of the character, and I understand now why he's a maelstrom.
Yeah,
because he was unjustifiably killed for no reason whatsoever. that would have been amazing. If they would have done that, that would have made that movie good. But they didn't do that. They fucked it. They fucked it.
And it takes an angle off the old story that they went down one angle. This is
Right.
another angle
Right.
that it could have naturally
Right.
gone down.
Mm-hmm.
I can co-sign on that. But also the CGI gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that's what's frustrating is the original one, like they did all these interesting things
Practical
to figure out
effects.
how to do these practical effects, and then the other one, the new one is just like, let's just do this all in CGI, and it looks so much worse.
And the
It looks
funny
so
thing
much
is,
worse.
Sam Raimi called that. There's a scene he was talking about. He was on a documentary series by the BBC called The Incredibly Strange Film Show, and Jonathan Ross was talking to him about the effects in Evil Dead 2. And there's a scene in there where they have the zombie lady. I can't remember her name. And they have her like flying above Bruce Campbell's character, Henrietta, and she's on a wire harness with all kinds of shit and everything. And Sam Raimi and Jonathan Ross is asking like, how long did it take for you? It took us like a week to build that rig to shoot like 2 hours for that scene.
Yeah.
And it cost us like 1/3 of the production or something. It wasn't that much, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Ross was like, "Was there anything else you would have done differently?" He's like, "Yeah, if I had a bunch of money, I would have just thrown a bunch of money at it." And like that, just to me, that translates into it would have looked a lot worse too.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
even in '87, it would have looked a lot worse. And that's the way. Unfortunately, that's the way things go. They're just like. Dude, I know, Brady, you're not a fan of Rob Zombie's movies, but I will say this: like, even I'm not a fan.
Not
of
a fan is an understatement. To be quite honest.
I'm not a fan of House of Thousand Corpses because I think it rips off too many things. I am a fan, however, of Devil's Rejects because I like the script, I like the way the characters go, and everything's done with practical effects for the most part. Three from Hell can go to hell because they used $5 CGI digital effects for blood squibs instead of just like regular stuff. That's my tangent. That's my rant. I hate that shit. All the remakes can go fucking die. Jason X is the last good Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, Jason X, let's go.
Yeah, Jason X is not a good movie, but
No,
it is an
but
enjoyable
it's the
movie.
It's a
last
horror comedy.
It's the
is.
last
It's a horror
good
comedy.
Friday the 13th
Yeah,
movie
this
that
is
they
true.
made.
This is
It's a
true.
horror comedy that you could watch with a group of friends.
I've got one that's interesting.
again, what more can you do with that setup?
Yeah.
Like they've done it all.
They did
Like,
it all.
Good Lord, in the second movie, they killed a crippled man and then sent him downstairs.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting one. So what, say you have children or say you have nieces or nephews or something like that. You want to get them into horror. What do you choose? Coraline. I think that is an excellent way to get a child interested in horror because there's some scary shit
Yeah, it's
in Coraline.
creepy, unnerving.
Incredibly creepy.
It kind of to me it fits like the haunted doll trope because that's all it is. It's stop motion. It fits.
I think depending on the age, also Gremlins could work.
Gremlins is a good
The
one.
original
The original
Gremlins.
Gremlins.
Gremlins is more hardcore than people remember it.
Yeah,
Gremlins is definitely, again,
that's like I said, depending on
it's
the
one
age.
of the three movies that made them say, hey, maybe we need a PG-13
That
rating.
Temple of Doom, and there was one other one.
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, yeah.
There's one that's not for kids.
No, nope.
Poltergeist is a good entry though for a person that's I would say.
Yeah, and
Well, hold on. I want to stress something. Poltergeist, yes.
Not Poltergeist,
Not Poultrygeist. That is not an intro to anything.
but it's a movie.
but and as a bonus, you can when they're watching Poltergeist with you, you can when they're in the pool scene, you can be like, those are real skeletons that they're grabbing onto her.
Yeah.
They're on a real Indian burial ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole production is cursed and everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Yep. What a wild movie.
Yeah.
Trilogy.
What is this movie poster for Poultrygeist?
What? Stop looking up shit randomly.
Looking up all this shit, you're going to give your phone AIDS. Jesus Christ, man. Some more
I got
classic,
curious, okay?
some more classic ones that I thought about.
Night of the Chicken Dead. That's the tagline for
Night of
Yeah.
the Lepus.
Alien and Aliens, I think, are good entry points. Alien, of course, first.
Yeah.
I
think. Yeah. I mean,
Aliens is really more is less
action,
horror.
It's an
but,
action movie with
but
some
it
horror.
but it does have horror.
Yeah.
But you.
That scene where Newt's like in the water and then that giant fucking alien fucking rises, that's horror right there, baby.
I think Jaws is a great one.
Yes.
I think Jaws is good. There's also have horror themed movies.
Yeah.
So I mentioned
Okay.
Evil Dead earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think Army of Darkness is a good starter because it's a horror comedy. It's got horror themes. There's skeletons, but they're not scary. You have that going on. There's also don't stone me to death, Underworld. Because you have vampires and werewolves. I mean, if they're real skittish and you're trying to ease them into it,
Is this why earlier you said there's almost nothing in the 2000s?
I noticed how you looked at him about it because you knew I'd be chill with it.
I used
and
to
you
like
don't care what his
Underworld,
opinion.
Now I don't have a strong feeling about Underworld.
no. I thought it was cool at the time, and also
Everybody thought it was cool at the time.
also
yeah.
Kate Beckinsale.
Yes, Kate Beckinsale in leather was the main driver of
Michael
that one.
Sheen as the leader of the werewolves.
Michael Sheen is the leader of the
Also
werewolves.
true.
Yeah.
Also true.
Also got a lot of butts in seats.
Well, better than fucking God damn it, what was his name? Better than Steven Dorff being like the bad guy from Blade.
I liked him in Blade.
I didn't.
I need y'all to have a fight between Underworld and Blade fans right now. Blade 2 is
Blade 1 and 2, I think, are phenomenal.
well, Blade
movies.
3 is something
Blade
else
3 is
altogether.
Garbage.
but Blade 2 is Guillermo del Toro at,
Right.
really
Yeah.
at his early Guillermo del Toro-est.
Speaking of Guillermo del Toro,
here we go.
Pan's Labyrinth. I think is
Pan's
a good,
Labyrinth.
I
is a
enjoyed
good
Pan's
one.
Labyrinth.
That was the 2000s. That's
yeah.
one of the 2000s.
It is.
ones
It
that
That's
were-
late
It is
2000s.
dark, so you have to be like
Yeah.
somebody that's. You got to make sure that the person is okay being sad because
Are you ready to be depressed?
Yeah.
Get ready.
I think. What's his other? The Devil's Backbone is out is another good one. But the good thing about Pan's Labyrinth is it's tinged with this fantasy that kind of softens some of the blow of the horrific things. But when the horrific things happen, like you're like Jesus, and really and truly, like the human beings are the worst part.
He did the first Hellboy, didn't he?
He did first two.
Yeah.
Both of those are very
both
good.
and the Golden Army.
The Golden Army is more of a fantasy movie, and then
Right.
the first one has more horror elements to it.
I remember who was Hellboy in the recent iteration of it.
Are you talking about
David Harbour?
David
Yeah.
Harbour?
Yeah.
There's a new one coming
Really?
out too.
There's
Yeah.
I
another
didn't know
one.
that.
Yeah.
The Crooked Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
It looks very low budget.
oh man.
But the guy looks more like Hellboy from the
Comic.
comic.
Horror is very good at low budget.
Yeah.
So
It can.
that can be a
But
benefit.
Hellboy,
I'm okay. Let's see it, and then maybe, like I said, horror. I will.
There's a trailer out.
I will.
So maybe,
I will allow a lot for horror, especially if it is a low budget horror. Like I kind of like the idea of.
When talk about horror in general, yeah, but like something like Hellboy, they need to put a little bit of money in it because it's everything's so fantastical in the movie.
I want
in the
to.
comics.
I want to talk about the weird part of horror for a moment.
Oh, okay.
So there's one of my favorite like late '80s horror movies is just it's a real hard balance on like the going back to the dark comedies, because this one has a singing brain parasite in it.
Brain damage?
Yeah,
You've got fucking brain damage.
Brain damage.
Just stick me on your neck, Michael, and everything will be all right.
that's the voice of
What?
Alvin,
What the
the talking brain parasite.
I can look at an object and hear the sound of its colors.
So here's.
Brady, would you like an image?
No, I know what brain
Okay.
damage is.
No. Stop searching these. This is not healthy.
How am I going to know what we all talking about?
Listen to us.
Listen to us. We're describing it as we're doing it.
All right, so one day,
The next thing you search, you have to watch.
the last thing you search. You should watch.
I don't
you
want
gotta
to
watch
say
Brain
that.
Damage.
I don't want to say that
No,
because I
now
don't know what they're
we
gonna
need to
throw
talk
out.
about Possession because I need Ethan to watch
man.
Possession.
I haven't
Everybody's
searched it.
first horror movie should be
Possession.
Possession.
Yes.
Oh man.
You
God.
want to have some awkward explanations, buddy? You're gonna have them.
What's that thing in the bed? I have no idea.
Fuck if I know.
Sam Neill is like the 5th most problematic thing in that movie.
It's just, you just have to constantly. How many times are you gonna have to say? It's a metaphor. I don't fucking know. It's a metaphor.
Why are they putting clothes in the freezer? I don't know.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. I don't
metaphor.
fucking.
Why is she cutting her arm with a bread knife? I don't know.
It's a metaphor. The arm represents the bread of life.
Is that a giant slug? Fuck if I know.
It's a metaphor.
No, I'm not gonna do that. That's gonna spoil some things. I want people to go.
Yeah. Speaking of spoiling things, I can't tell you anything about Brain Damage. Otherwise, it'll.
I've already spoiled enough.
Jesus
There's a
Christ.
talking brain.
I can hear
or
the I can
parasite.
hear. The
There's
sound of
another.
its colors.
There's another weird one. I know we're getting away from the the point of this, but I got to talk about Dead Alive for a minute.
Yeah, this is definitely a starter movie.
So you know Peter Jackson, right?
I'm not going to search this just in case.
You know Peter Jackson, right?
It would be very funny if you searched it and had to watch it.
I'm gonna. Well, we're gonna really fuck Ethan up then. We're gonna treat like you know who Peter Jackson is.
Okay.
He directed The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, yes.
You've seen Lord
King
of
Kong.
the Rings.
Yeah.
Directed it
yes.
into a
And
remake of King Kong.
the 2006 King Kong
Yes,
movie.
uh-huh.
Have you ever seen? We're gonna go backwards. Have you ever seen The Frighteners from 1997
I
with
can't-
Michael J. Fox?
I can't say
They
I have.
actually used effects in that movie that they applied to in Lord of the Rings 3 years later.
I want to say I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Okay, before that, he did another movie that's not Dead Alive, that I can't remember the title of right now, but he did Dead Alive. Before Dead Alive, he did Bad Taste. Before he did Bad Taste,
He also did Meet the Feebles.
Before-
I was
he did
about to
Bad
say,
Taste, he-
wasn't Meet the Feebles the one that you're
that was
thinking
the
about?
first movie that he did, was Meet the Feebles.
Okay.
Dead Alive, however, this very like awkward 20-something man,
It's like Shaun of the Dead.
yeah, except way gorier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except
Gotcha.
turned up to 1100,
His mother gets bitten by a rat monkey.
which in the
Okay.
in the remake of King Kong that he did, there's a cage with the rhesus rat monkey written on it.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Because
Little-
Peter Jackson,
yes.
little throwback there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Orlando Bloom is a rhesus rat monkey, and that's the answer why he cast him in The Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Okay.
There are two things you need to know about Dead Alive.
All right.
One, lawnmowers are your friend, and two, priests always kick ass for the Lord. All right.
Also, pudding is disgusting.
Pudding is so disgusting, especially vanilla pudding, especially off-white vanilla pudding.
Off-white Australian vanilla pudding.
New Zealand vanilla pudding, very disgusting.
Okay.
Also, another thing about this movie is it's set in the 60s. There you go.
Okay.
Peter
Have you-
Jackson.
Have you ever wanted to fight a baby?
Do me a favor, Ethan.
Why don't you look it up?
Look
Why don't you
up Dead
Yeah, look
Alive.
up Dead or Alive.
Because then I'm contractually obligated to watch it.
Okay, well then don't look it up.
Well, at least I didn't tell you to go look up Meet the Feebles then.
Oof, yeah. That's
Because I saw that a long
Have you
time
ever
ago.
wanted to listen to a Muppet sing a song about sodomy? Meet
How
the
about,
Feebles.
How about
haven't we all?
how about Muppets getting STDs? How about that?
Why don't you look that up right now?
Just look up Meet the Feebles.
I might not hold you
God.
to our contractual obligation.
No,
I want to make a correct. I think Bad Taste was his first movie.
It
that
might
was
have
like
been.
the super low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Like it was literally him and his
And,
friends.
and he had to play two characters.
yeah,
Yeah.
running around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Peter Jackson's seminal horror movie career. So, Jay, is there anything you want to add to like what would you introduce somebody to?
So we've maybe mentioned it once, but I'll go ahead. Like I said last week, one of my reasons for Night of the Creeps is that it's this smorgasbord. You have a whole bunch of different horrors and kind of pick things out. So for me, I would introduce people to horror with anthologies. Creep Show, Tales from the Dark Side.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the Night Gallery pilot, which ran as a feature length
with
film.
Roddy McDowell.
With Roddy McDowell, but also the vignette with that was directed by Steven Spielberg. There's a bunch of stuff in there, and the reason why is, as far as length of time, you can just show them one thing that you really like from it, and then or you can show them the whole thing, and okay, we're done with this part. Take a quick intermission, go to the bathroom, get some drinks, snacks, talk about what we say, come back, and you can watch the next one.
Certain episodes of Twilight Zone too fit.
Yeah. You can also, if it's at a party, you can throw the thing on, and it's because it's different chunks of movie. It's a different scene, but it's the same kind of thing that's going on there.
Yeah, I can get with
There's in particular one of my favorite all time, and I've mentioned on the podcast a number of times, we've talked about it before, but the succubus from the original VHS is one of the most terrifying.
That's the
things
best
I've
one
ever
on that one
fucking
movie.
seen.
Yeah.
And that kind of reinvigorated me to get back into horror.
I also really like the haunted house one at the very end. I think those are the two that are, because having rewatched VHS fairly recently, those are the two that really stand out in that first.
Yeah,
in that
I have
first
to agree with
VHS.
you on that.
I think all of you could pick any one from VHS 94 and they're really good, really, really good.
I think the second Fear Street movie is really good.
I need to watch those. I never got around to watching
The
them.
first two are really good.
I very much enjoyed
The first two are really
I've heard
good.
good
The third
things.
one I have some minor issues with, but it's decent. But the first two are really, really good.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. I just never got around to watching them.
I was looking at you as I was about to talk about the Fear Street trilogy.
Yeah, Fear Street. The Fear Street's the second one especially.
Because it's kind of like an anthology series, but it's all roped into this one.
The first one,
overarching.
The first one is an
storyline.
homage to late '90s, early 2000s horror, and then the second one is an homage to late '70s camp slashers, and it's fantastic. And the third one goes back to the 1600s, where they tie everything back together, but they really don't nail any of the historical accuracy of the 1600s.
It gives me like the witch vibes, like this time period setting.
It does not give me the witch vibes. It gives me someone tried to reduplicate that and they didn't know anything about the time period. But the first two movies are really good. Yeah, I have to co-sign on Jay, like the anthologies especially. Tales from the Dark Side, the TV series, and the movie also, especially the movie. The fucking gargoyle short story in that movie is fantastic, phenomenal, very memorable. The Mummy too, with Christian Slater. I love that one with can't remember the other guy that was in it, but
I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember that first Tales from the Crypt movie, the Demon Knight, being really a really
Demon
good
Knight.
one.
Yeah,
that
that-
one. I don't know.
yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't remember how well it would be for a newbie. but-
Also, the original Tales from the Crypt movie from the 70s. That one's from 1990. They actually had a trilogy based off of all three of the main comic books. They had Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, and Crypt of Terror, whatever. They had three of those, and those are all made by Hammer. Speaking of Hammer, we should talk about Hammer for a minute, maybe. No? Yes?
Just very briefly, history dictates that we should mention them and then just leave them alone. However, but if we were going to talk about that, Hammer exists in this weird area of it's not the originals, and it's not the 80s ramp up of the gore. It's in this time period where it's the late 50s, 60s, and the early 70s, and it speaks a lot to. There's a lot of 60s culture that's baked into those movies that you don't really see. If we talk about questions that we have afterward, the Frankenstein series probably needs to be left well enough alone.
Sure.
Because there's at least two of those where he's just sexually assaulting people a lot. And it's kind of we want him to be evil, but now we have to, it's
That's too much.
Yeah. The Dracula series, if you want to know why Christopher Lee was always a villain, like why he was Scaramanga in the fucking in James Bond Man with the Golden Gun. If you want to know why he was Count Dooku, why he was Saruman, I still think he would have been a better Gandalf, but that's a whole other different kind of conversation. If you want to know why he was a villain, Look at his Dracula series.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
There's also the standalones as Vampire Circus and Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter.
Yeah.
I'm very, very partial to Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. I don't know why, but I just love that movie so much. It's camp, but it's not overtly campy. It's also like a weird time period because over in London they were still adhering to the whatever code they had for
It was still the Hays Code.
They were
still.
they were, and then
That was the
over,
video nasties era.
and the
Yeah.
in the in the States they were making grindhouse movies at the same time.
Yeah.
with people ripping out tongues and shit.
yeah, the
you know?
70s in America is when that
Well,
went
that I
away.
mean the studio system completely fell on its ass at
Yeah.
that point. That's one of the reasons why that
That's-
thing could
yeah.
populate.
Speaking of Christopher Lee, I think a good one, the original Wicker Man, I think is a good one
That's a good one. Yeah.
to start
I
somebody
love
out
that
with.
movie.
Yeah, it's a very, very good movie.
Folk horror is
Yeah.
one of my
Lord
favorites.
Summerton.
Summer Owl.
Summer Isle.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
Mayday.
When it comes to like the like classic like Universal movies, which of those do y'all think would be? I picked Frankenstein
Dracula.
and Bride of Frankenstein.
Invisible Man.
I would say
Say
either,
Wolfman, so we all have a different thing.
Yeah.
I'll solidify Frankenstein because he said
Okay.
Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Bride is really
I'll-
good
I'll
too.
Bride is
solidify
Bride is the
Frankenstein.
best of those two movies, but I think Frankenstein, you watch Frankenstein, then watch Bride of Frankenstein. So, yeah.
Yeah, Dracula for me because to this day I think Carl Lammel just created such a wonderful, just low-lying, just like even back then with how things could be, like they're still figuring out how to make movies still at this point. But just the way he just kind of keeps that tension roiling, and it's very now the delivery at the end I think works for a 1930s audience. It doesn't really work for an audience now because you want to see the vampire killed. He's killed off screen.
Yeah. I think also
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I should have said that.
also, even in the 30s, you have Dracula, you have Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, which are very gothic horror, and then you have Invisible Man, which is at the time a modern horror. You know, it's based off an older book, but it's based in the time period that it's shot in. Also uses ahead of its time blue screen before blue screen, like. A lot of people still don't know how the fuck they did some of those effects with the invisible side of things.
And
or
it's
what.
completely lost because the people who did it are dead and they didn't pass it on.
Also true. But like the crazy
Also, Claude Rains, real quick, just Claude Rains.
Claude
Oh my God.
Rains, right? Claude Rains.
Say the line, Jody.
I'm coming to kill you, Kent.
There we go. All right.
Here we go, gathering nuts in me.
Hey, nuts in me.
But another thing about those movies is that like it doesn't feel to me hokey at all. Like none of them phoned it in. You know, the guy who plays Renfield in the original Dracula movie, like he's an all-star in that film. To the point where they made Renfield into an actual movie not too long ago, and I actually enjoy that.
Talking about Dwight Fry, right? Yeah, because he plays a big part in Frankenstein as well.
Yeah. And I want to go back, just touch briefly on the silent era, Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I think both of those are phenomenal films that stand up.
Well, let's not forget Phantom of the Opera, too.
Phantom of the Opera, I've got that written down as well. I was going to cover that momentarily. Nosferatu, just perfect original vampire film. If not one of the first vampire films, and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, one of my favorite movies. Also, very like the German impressionist movies, very like artistic, and that movie. I don't know if you could sell somebody on it. You know, it's trying to get somebody into horror for the first time.
One thing I'll always love about Caligari is the fact that all of the scenes look warped because the story is being told to you by a madman.
Yes.
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
That one, you gotta know that somebody is okay with watching super old cinema.
Right, for sure. The silent ones are hard sells.
Yeah.
Especially Caligari. Caligari even more so over Phantom and Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I guess you may or may not consider Hunchback a horror movie, but
I don't think I've ever really watched that version.
Lon Chaney does his own stunts in that movie.
yeah, and his own makeup. Yeah. But anybody got any last thoughts, final thoughts?
Speaking
on
of Nosferatu, I can't wait for Robert Eggers.
Oh, yeah.
Nosferatu.
Oh yeah,
on Christmas it's actually coming out. So
wonderful.
Happy holidays.
yeah, Bill Skarsgård is Nosferatu, and Willem Dafoe is the vampire hunter.
I co-sign on it.
Yeah.
Ethan, any last words on the topic?
Find your comfort spot and find some good friends to watch these movies with.
Yeah.
Ethan is going to watch Brain Damage and Dead Alive.
And Possession.
I have not.
And-
I have
and
not looked up a
Possession.
single
Possession.
thing.
Nope, we've got
I
it.
have not heard-
We've got
I
it
have not
written
looked up a
down.
single thing
It is.
after
It
that
is recorded in
declaration was made.
perpetuity. There is no take backsies. He has to do this.
I did not look up a single thing after that
We
declaration
look
has been
forward to
made.
next week when we talk about what you've watched.
You're going to have to purchase a DVD player. I will loan you the copies of all the movies that we've talked about.
You can borrow my Blu-ray player. Shit.
We should make that a thing for next week.
Um,
Actually, I forgot our plan for next week.
We don't have one.
We don't have one.
know what our
What
plan
if
is
we?
for
What
next
if we give each of us a movie to watch? Like the people across from one another pick a movie for that person to watch, and then we can just give a quick review of it. What do we think?
We've
of that?
done movies for 4 weeks in a row.
We
That's-
did 5. This will be
5 weeks in a row because we're talking about movies today,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
5 weeks in that we've done this.
Jay, any final thoughts on the topic so far?
No, I just know who you're introducing to,
Yeah.
and
That's
I think
definitely what I was
that's
gonna
the
say.
Yeah.
and pick something. To me, pick something that has variety to it.
Yeah.
That's for me.
Yeah, hopefully we've given you some good options
Mm-hmm.
that maybe we with only picking the 4 movies before. But yeah, definitely know your audience.
Know
but
yourself.
also
Know yourself.
pick something that you also care about,
And know quite a bit about
because the
as
whole
well.
the whole reason that you're going to be doing this is because you want somebody to want to share your interest with somebody. So like don't just arbitrarily, well, they said this was a good one, let me try this one, and you really don't have a strong feeling about that, because if it's someone that you care enough to that you want to get them into something that you're interested in, then you also want to be passionate about that, and people who are your true like friends and colleagues or whatever, they're going to be people who want to see you like actually show interest in something and be passionate about something.
Yeah,
So,
and my final thoughts are just be aware that just because something may be older doesn't mean it's going to be less frightening or less disturbing in any shape of the imagination, such as the original Exorcist or The Omen. Those movies will really fuck somebody up if they've never seen a horror movie before.
Oh yeah, especially like The Exorcist shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens in that movie. And that was like 1972, 3, something like that. So yeah,
And
so
then watch William Friedkin's other movie, Bug, and get freaked the fuck out.
yeah, I've seen that
Be
one.
really itchy.
Yeah, super itchy.
No, thank you. No,
You got to get them out of your skin,
I'm good.
man.
I'm good. I'll pass.
That's-
hard to pass.
That's what's her name was in that? I can't.
Ashley Judd.
Ashley Judd.
And big scary guy. Really like him. He was in Boardwalk Empire, and he was Zod, and
Terrence Stamp.
no.
Oh,
other
the new
Zod.
new
the
Zod.
new, the new
Yeah.
Zod.
Michael Shannon.
Yeah,
Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
Watch Martyrs every day.
Yeah, start with Martyrs.
Start with Martyrs.
Start with Martyrs, the French version, not the American version. That one sucks ass.
Michael Shannon, star of Dead Men Don't Dance. All right, so plug some shows.
Star of a reading of a sorority president's email to her sorority sisters when she thought they were being too weird, and listening to him put the emphasis on cunt punt. And it's fucking amazing. Look that up right now, Ethan.
No.
Is that that
good,
show
I'm
where they
good.
just read letters and shit?
Yeah,
Is-
it's that
Okay.
internet show. It's like they asked Michael Shannon to read and he's sitting on a couch. It's just a nice couch.
There's a really good one with Peter Capaldi and the dude from What We Do in the Shadows, where it's an old
Is that the same guy that's in the IT crowd as the boss?
possibly
is that the
I
same
don't
actor?
I'm not familiar with the IT crowd. But it's the guy with long hair who's like really British. But it's like a back and forth letter that's very, very funny, I would say.
Gotcha.
Ethan, plug a show.
The Completed Podcast, a Magic the Gathering-centered podcast hosted by Christopher Vega, Brendan Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith. They go about the competitive side of Magic the Gathering, talk about pro tours, which is currently coming up here soon for Standard. Check them out. Some pretty good guys. The Completed Podcast.
Ethan, plug a show.
Whiskey and Wrestling. Jason Holder and Michael Hill, they drink a libation of the week and talk about wrestling of the week. Do another one? You got it.
Ethan, don't plug a show.
okay.
Jay, plug a show.
Martyrs, two young women who are both victims of abuse as children embark on a bloody quest for revenge, only to find themselves plunged into a living hell of depravity.
Yeah, that's an accurate description of Martyrs.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan, plug a show.
Okay, it's back to me. Who do we have left? Fearology, hosted a podcast hosted by you, Jody Kite.
Jody.
You talk about horror movies in and of itself outside of
Am
this
I a
podcast.
farm animal?
I love how that's so accusatory. You talk about horror movies.
Your podcast, Fearology, you.
We have at least one more.
Yes, we do.
What is it?
Are you directing me to plug another show?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
Last time I asked Jay to, he talked about Martyrs.
Yeah,
I'll talk about High Tension. Continue.
Bearded Drums, Stephen Nelson II and Jarrett Taylor. They talk about drumming and music and gigs and gears, not necessarily in that order.
McNarb Gaming, located in lovely Goshen, Mississippi, has everything that you may acquire to play puzzles and shit, and dice that are made out of foam that you could throw at your friends. And they also have a lot of Magic the Gathering product and board games, but no minis anymore. Minis are bad. Paint, though, you could paint your non-existent minnings. Minnings.
Is that minions you win? They're minnings.
All right, well, I'm tapping out. I've been your host, Jody Kite.
I've been your co-host, Ethan Skinner.
A Tale of Two Sisters. After being institutionalized in a mental hospital, Korean teen Soo Mi reunites with her beloved sister Soo Yeon, and they return to live at the countryside home. The girl's widower father has remarried, and the siblings are immediately resentful of this new wife.
Thank you,
And I've
James
been Brady
McCarthy.
Davis.
Thanks, folks, for listening to Travelers on the Omnibus. We'll see you next time. That's pretty good. Pretty good show there. I like the part where I mentioned Dead Alive and didn't tell you anything about the movie.
Nope, you did not.
Samantha Johnson, professionally known as Samantha Irvin, is an American professional wrestling ring announcer and musician. She is best known for her time in WWE from 2021 to 2024 under the ring name Samantha Irvin.